We've got ourselves a live stream. Today, the news was full of a lot of stuff. Trump says he's going to be attacking Iran in the next few days. He carried the next few days out to the beginning of next week, so he's probably at a week or less for the attack. Sounds like he's going to attack and doesn't want to tell people when. America grabbed an oil tanker belonging to Iran on the sanction list with 1 million plus barrels of oil. That's like over $100 million worth of oil. Iran will be smoking mad. Plus the boat could be worth, 30 million, $50 million or something like that, and the Flotilla, the latest one, coming to Israel, the Israeli Navy meets those out at sea now, out in the ocean. And they wanted to stop a boat, and it wouldn't stop, one of many boats. So they sprayed water in the boat, and it didn't stop them, and then the Israeli Navy rammed it. Probably with one of their destroyers or frigates or whatever, one of our warships, which would probably be a 250, 300 foot boat compared to a 40, 50, 60, 70 foot boat, So, yeah, they're still continuing to do it. So we'll get into all this. There's other news to talk about. The Senate finally approved, and I'm not in favor of this, but they approved a resolution that Trump needs to go to Congress to get continuing the war in Iran to continue. Now, that doesn't mean the House passed it yet. As far as we know, the House didn't pass it, but the House was in favor of passing something similar, so they have to line the bill up. So it might very well pass, okay, which leaves everybody in a precarious situation, because then Trump has to wait for Iran to attack. Now, are they going to say that the blockade is an act of war and that has to stop? All this could happen and leave Israel in the lurch. Mind you, that could happen. Don't think it won't. And we're going to talk about the missile inventory and the launchers and stuff that Iran has left. We're going to try to get a breakdown on that stuff. And we got a lot of things to talk about. So it looks like Trump's going to war. I don't think he's going to care too much about what the House does, because he'll just find another way to label it. He's been out of the war for a while, so maybe he could say that, well, that war was over, this is a new one, and we got another 60 days to go. And that might actually be lawful. I'm going to bounce into the live stream and look at the chat for a moment, put up a post. Nah, it's going to take seconds, not minutes. Nah, it's going to take seconds, not... Well, we got our sound. And we got picture. And I've got my moderators. Thank you, moderators. And I'm going to put my post up. Okay. Looks like everything's fine. And we're breaking a new record. I haven't had anybody send an offering in 4 days. I guess people are mad at me for doing those Bible studies. Um, I don't know what it is, but they're not happy with me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Preach to pre-trib Schofield to make people happy. I don't know. I'll never do that. Hold on a minute. I don't know what I did with my water. I left it. I'll be right back. Excuse me, Mommy. Find my water. Things are rough here. The neighbor broke our sewer line, we think. We're pretty sure. And it's putting sewage in our yard. I gotta figure out how I deal with it. uh, oh. Everybody's gonna want to try to get me to pay for it. Maybe. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay. I think the only reason the Lord has me continue this is there's a very small amount of people out of the 18,000 subscribers that are worthy. And that's who the Lord has me really preaching to. It's a very hard job to see people that want to hear and listen, but they don't give a hoot about you, That's, and they think that's walking in the gospel. They think that's correct. They don't think they're robbing God, like the scriptures say in Malachi. They don't believe it. Okay, I'm going to do some praise. I have no control over who joins in or who doesn't join in. There is no, now what I mean is if you're continuing to keep listening and you follow the channel and you never send the offerings in, that's what the Bible refers to as robbing God, Don't muzzle the ox when he treads the grain, but they don't care. They will when they realize the price they paid for this, but they're in ignorance. Okay. There is no God like Jehovah. They're not in such ignorance. They just find reasons why they think the scriptures don't apply to them, Then I get, Satan butts that think they're so cool and smart. They come around and tell me that they can't give offerings, but they got plenty of money, stuff like this, They think I'm so stupid I'm going to stay in fellowship with them, There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Crash course on how to figure out if you're getting played by a Satan bot to try to put you in fellowship with him. The Satan bod's going to make you aware of their sins. And frequently the making aware of the sins is going to be making you aware of their sick doctrines, okay? Then, when you talk to them, they don't have much to say, okay? They're not going to talk Bible with you. They're going to try to answer questions with a question if they can. And they're never going to repent or admit they were wrong. If they did that, then you are no longer in incorrect fellowship with them. Then you're not giving place to the devil. See, people, I would guess 97, 98% of the people that attend churches on Sunday don't understand it's incorrect to be in fellowship with people. It's sin to be in fellowship with people that behave unlike a believer should behave. Yet they do it. That means people that break Galatians 5, 19 to 21, you shouldn't be in fellowship with. They don't pay attention. What happens to the ones that don't pay attention to the scriptures? Well, what's the Lord going to do with them? When he restores Israel, they're going to be there and they can continue not paying attention to the scriptures. But what's the point of continuing with them? Two be sleeping in one bed, one's gone, the other remains. Two grinding at the wheel, one's gone, the other remains. Two working in the field, one gone, the other remains. The bad ones get taken out first. Contrary to Dr. Schofield and Darby. So, let's get into it. I think I should start with some prayer requests. Okay, first prayer request. I'll read it to you and you can pray for it. I'll try to simplify it. The prayer request is for MP, Mike Papa, to not insist on a prenuptial agreement. Okay? So the first part is MP, Mike Papa, to not insist on a prenuptial agreement. And the second part is that the same MP needs to treat KG better. MP Mike Papa to not push and insist on a prenuptial agreement, and MP to be nice and more generous to KG. Okay, that's the prayer request. All right, so you believers can join in on this, even if you're just getting it on the video. It won't matter. It'll work. Next one is for IF, Idaho Foxtrot. IF, Idaho Foxtrot. People tried to hack into IF's computer. I'll put a toss request out because this is a little tricky, and you can't agree with my toss request. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I loose any and all unclean spirits out of any persons that were attempting to hack into IF's computer. These unclean spirits shall immediately depart from these people, and every person that lives in the same house as these people, and every person that works in the same company as these people, and never return unto them again. And this is all set in place irrevocably now, effective now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and these unclean spirits shall never return to these people again, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, that ought to straighten that idiot out, or idiots, or whatever. We have a prayer request for RM, Romeo Mike. Okay, a prayer request for RM as well as ES, Echo Sierra. So for two people, it's a pretty similar prayer request. RM, Romeo Mike, and ES, Echo Sierra. Pray for healing with the eyes, specifically cataracts. And for ES, we also want to add in arthritis. Okay? Nope, sorry, got it wrong. Let me start over. Sorry. People, I have a lot of trouble with complex prayer requests because I'm trying to put this in a way that people doing something when they listen to the broadcast can do it. Let me start again. RM and ES, healing for cataracts in the eyes. RS, Romeo Sierra, healing for arthritis and neuropathy. Okay? As well as ES, because I can't understand this. So ES and RS, healing for arthritis and neuropathy. This is so hard, man. RM and ES, healing for cataract in the eyes. Okay. All right. That should get it done. Guys, when you do these prayer requests, you gotta think. I keep saying this about the people are cooking, taking care of children, cleaning the house, they're at work, driving a forklift, they're driving a truck, they're on a little delivery pickup truck, they're driving a school bus or something, with an empty school bus or something. You know, they're not all just sitting around with a pencil and paper ready to do this. You gotta, the more conscientious you are about that, the more people will be happy to pray for you, okay? I was reading it and it was stumbling. I got it out and I'll always get it out and I'll always try and I'll never deny. But please, for your sake, try to simplify it out. And, you know, some people come and they give me a list. They want a prayer request. Oh, Lord, buy me a new Mercedes-Benz. Oh, Lord, I need a better job. Oh, Lord, I need a different house. Oh, Lord, I need more clothes. Oh, Lord, I need to be healed in 16 different areas of my body. And, you know, guys, you know, you got to condense this so people can help you. Like healing for what's ailing me, you know, stuff like that. All right, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm just trying to. I mean, I did it the other day, and I keep doing it. It's just very. I try to get as many people as possible to pray for you. That's what I'm after. Not that I mind doing it. I love doing it. No problem. Okay. So Trump's saying he's going to hit Iran in a few days up until next week. And have we heard Trump say things like this before? Oh, yeah. After Trump took the stroll with the alien on social media, I want you, now I don't know if this is going to happen, but I want you to be prepared that Trump might say, it'd be a lie, might say that he has alien technology from the aliens, that the aliens want to help America, not Iran. And the aliens may actually, he may say they're going to fight with America. He may try something like that. The Iranians will laugh hysterically, but he might try it. He who loveth and maketh a lie. Oh Lord, Father God Jehovah, please get rid of these people already. They're so disgusting. Please. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. The IDF intercepted all the ships coming to Gaza. This is the latest flotilla. This was yesterday. They're taking 400 activists are being transferred to Israel, and then they're going to be sent. They'll be processed and then sent home. So we got to pay for this. So if it costs, you got 400 people, right? And if it costs 500 a head to send them home, we're spending $200,000. With this other stuff, we're probably spending $800,000 on this. Why don't they just let them go into Gaza already? Search them for weapons and things we don't want them to have, and let them go into Gaza, and don't let them go out. They're going to put them on the media and say that the conditions are deplorable. The Israelis are capturing Palestinian children and putting a stake through them, going in their mouth and out their privates, and putting them on stakes and roasting them alive like pigs. What else will they say? This kind of stuff, right? That'd be laughing stock. And the big laugh comes when the Palestinians start killing them and raping them. Oh, they'll rape them. Uh-huh. Then we could put it on the media. See the activists, women and men, they rape men, laying down on the floor or laying in a hospital bed with broken bones in their face and black eyes and teeth out, with their leg up in the air from a cast and in shock from being gang raped, and turn it into positive PR. You don't have to, you just trust the Palestinians. They'll take care of it. They'll start with these girls coming on the flotilla, and they'll start being friendly to them, and the girls will be friendly to them. And then they're going to want to have relations with them, intimate. And the girl might agree once or twice, but when she realizes the whole place wants it, Oh, they'll give them guns and tell them to fight against Israel with them. Oh, it'll be a zoo. So they rammed one of the boats because they weren't stopping. Now, Trump might have to pull out of Gaza. Now, I don't talk about this much, but I do talk about it. Is it possible that we're in a put-on job, okay? In other words, this thing is designed to have Iran attack Israel. If that is the case, which I'm not sure of, but it's possible, it would be a side feature. The big reason this happened is Trump in the United States, the Biden administration, all of them, not just Trump, the whole administration is very worried about Iran and Russia selling oil in bricks off the US dollar. And they also, before the war started, got the UAE and Saudi Arabia to be in BRICS. And while they were not exclusively selling off the US dollar, they were selling oil to people that wanted to pay not in US dollars, with another currency. That's how loyal and dedicated Saudi Arabia is. You should just let them go. They're just a bunch of pig dictators. They're dictators. Don't buy into this prince, king. They're dictators. How does a dictator try to legitimatize himself? He calls himself a king, or an emir, or a sultan, or a supreme leader, or some other junk. That's all it is. Let them go down. What do you need Saudi Arabia for? They're a good-for-nothing country. Who do they benefit? Who do the Saudis ever do anything good for? Nobody. Nobody. They're worthless. Would the world miss them? No. You don't need them. All they care about is how much money can I get? How much money can I get? He who dies with the most money wins, is what these idiots believe in. They're not Muslims. They're not Muslims. Don't believe they're Muslims. The country is Muslim. The king and those guys are straight out Satan bots. They're not Muslims. You think Trump's a Christian? Talking about aliens, you think he's a believer? None of these guys are anything but Satan bots. If they weren't Satan worshippers, they wouldn't be in charge of these countries. They'd get knocked off and a Satan bot would take over. That's this age that's closing out. Saudi Arabia are staunch haters of Israel. Once they went into the wars against us, they learned their lessons. They never did it again. I don't want to be in a what do they call it, Abrahamic Accord with any of these countries. They'll stab us in the back. The king, that I don't know if he's dead or sick, was not that disloyal to America. His loyalty was rather consistent with America. The fat kid he's got running the country doesn't know what he's doing. Sometimes he tries to be friendly with Trump. Other times he tries to be friendly with Iran. He's a pretty serious dumbbell because he thinks he can make peace with Iran. The Iranian type of Mohammedanism they follow, the Shiite, doesn't allow for kings, okay? They don't do that. They say the wealth should be distributed amongst the people. Do they practice that in Iran? Well, they do distribute the money. How? Well, the IRGC and their other militias, they distribute it that way. They distribute it to the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iranian-backed militias. They do that. They distribute it to building drones. They distribute it to building missiles. They distribute it to laying oil pipelines. They distribute it to building oil refineries, oil tanker ships, and building up their military. That's how they distribute it, mostly. Okay? That's their distribution. Look at the nations they're attacking. Kuwait, run by an emir, a dictator. Bahrain, I think he calls himself a king. Qatar, he calls himself, I think, a king or emir or something. A dictator. UAE calls himself the president or something. He's a dictator. Oman, a king. Um, Jordan, a king. Syria, no king. Just an ISIS Al Qaeda administration with a new paint job. Saudi Arabia, a king. See who they're attacking? Okay? What the Shiites believe is not necessarily what the Sunnis believe. Although there are some radical Sunnis, most of the Sunnis don't believe this. Most of the Shiites do. They believe that Israel, with the red heifer, is going to make the ashes in the water and sprinkle the people, and the ultra-Orthodox and the Orthodox Jews are going to rub it on themselves and think how holy they are. They're going to go pray up at the Temple Mount, as it's incorrectly called, and that's already going on. And they're going to be feeling really holy, look at the Dome of the Rock and the mosque, and they're going to start wrecking it. Okay? And then a false Messiah is going to come. And he's going to tell the people of Israel that they have to kill every Muslim. Well, it's a joke because of that, they're telling the Muslims they got to get rid of Israel. Now, this is not in their Quran. It's in another set of writings that are not the Quran, that the Sunnis don't accept. The other thing is they say that the Muhammad rose to heaven where the Al-Aqsa Mosque or the Dome of the Rock is. They actually have an area there where there's a rock or something. They say he went up from there. And the Sunnis have dissected that, and the timing that they claim for this to take place was incorrect. In other words, Muhammad rose up before there ever was this Dome of the Rock Al-Aqsa Mosque building. So they don't treat it as the fourth most holy Muslim site in the world, or the third or the fourth, like the Shiites tend to. Gets thick, doesn't it? So that's what's going on with this. And Trump keeps playing up the Saudi Arabia. Why? They didn't even give him a $400,000 airplane like the Qatar did. Why is he? You would think he'd say, "Hey guys, I need another plane for my family. Give me another $400 million plane." Say it to the Saudis, and then he'd do things for the Saudis. But it looks like he's doing it for free. Let's talk about what does Iran have left for missiles. Okay. First off, nobody knows. Okay, except the Iranians, and they might not have it completely correct either, but the ballistic missiles that could reach Israel and parts of Europe, I believe, is someplace in the vicinity of 1,000 to 1,500. Now, the highest any so-called expert will state is 1,700, and probably the lowest figure you're going to get would be 1,000. So you might, compromise and say they got about 12, 1,300, something like that. Um, their missile launcher capability. They definitely did rebuild some missiles. Um, the high side on how many operational missile launches they have now runs between 150 and 250 that are operational today. And there's a lot of people that are just going to tell you it's about 100. Others might tell you it's 300. So we're going to take a compromise position, probably about 150. See, nobody's really certain how much rehabilitation they did to restore damaged missile launches previously. The ability of the Iranians to launch large, sustained salvos appears significantly damaged. In other words, they would send, 12, 15 missiles at a time and repeat, and put 100 missiles a day out just to us, We don't think their capability is able to handle that anymore. But nobody's exactly sure what it can handle. Okay, what is the capability? Nobody's exactly sure. So they might still have a lot of missiles, in excess of 1,000, but its ability to launch large sustained salvos appears to be much more damaged than the missile stockpile itself. How do we real world interpret this? Well, the real world interpretation is if they start launching, as things are now, Trump might leave Iran, but as things are now, they would start launching, and in a matter of hours, Israel and America would be banging on their door on their missile launch sites, the hidden facilities underground, not hidden, the underground, in the mountain facilities called missile cities, would be getting bombed repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, and their ability to operate would start to fail very quickly. The gates that open up for the missiles would get damaged. They would start taking damage. Okay, even though they're embedded in a mountain, it would. I'm pretty sure things would go wrong. Mobile missile launches would get destroyed as soon as they launched. There would be jets overhead nearby that would just barrel down. Breaking the sound barrier of 750 miles an hour. They'd barrel down there quick and strike before the thing could get away and disable it. So they're not going to have a good time, but for the first few hours, they're going to get missiles out. Now, if Trump just decides, and he very well might do this, he just decides, well, this isn't for me. Nobody's helping me. They can go fly a kite. Iran can't hurt me in America. I'm going to pull out and tell the Europeans they could go deal with their own problem. None of them wanted to come help me. So now these guys can go pay the tolls to Iran at $2 million a ship and let Iran charge them rent or money for using their internet cables. And, you know, they want to be wimps. That's the price of wimphood. And he might do that. What would the European nations do? They would try to negotiate with Iran. How would that work? They'd be very nice and say pay the $2 million tariff and don't sell your oil on the U.S. dollar anymore, and we'll be okay. They'll stop everybody from going through the Persian Gulf that sells oil on the U.S. dollar. Trump might leave anyway. I don't think so. He's then teaching Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia a very harsh lesson. Don't ever trust America for any reason. You know, what would Iran do? Let's look at this. If Trump leaves, would they just sit there and start launching missiles at Israel, knowing every day, every night Israel is going to be bombing them? No. What would Israel do? Israel would bomb the water desalinators, and Israel would bomb the electrical plants. Israel would bomb the railroads. Israel would bomb the ports and the piers. Israel would bomb the airports. And where would that leave Iran? If you think they're in bad shape now, they'd be in 5 or 10 times worse shape in a matter of days. And we would have to be taking the attacks, but within a week, probably less, they would be finished. The water desalinators and the power plants mean they got to evacuate much of the country. That's what he would do. Now, what about the missile cities? Well, they might have, 3,000 or 4,000 bottles of water down there for, 12 people. So they could go months. Every time they get thirsty, they open a bottle and drink it. Big deal. It may not have refrigeration, but that warm water will keep you alive just as well as cold water. So, do you think they need air conditioning inside these places built in a mountain? Probably not. They probably got a lot of good insulation from the heat and everything. But we don't know what kind of heat the generator is making, the lights, the computers, the things pertaining to the missile. We don't know. Maybe it gets hot down there. Maybe they have an air conditioner there. I don't know. If Trump the House passes a resolution, Trump and the Senate passes a resolution, I believe Trump has to sign it. Well, let's see. I don't know. Maybe they don't, because the power lies in the Congress. So I don't think Trump, let's check. He may not have to sign that. Let's find out. If the House and the Senate pass a resolution that Trump cannot continue the attacks on the Iranians without the permission of Congress. So if such a resolution is passed by both houses, can Trump veto it? This is like a constitutional issue. For Congress to actually force the president to stop military action, both the House and Senate would need to pass the measure. Then it would go to the president. It's still a bill, you see. It would go to the president. If Trump vetoed it, Congress would need a 2/3 vote in both houses to override the veto. Current reporting on Iran war power resolution says a Trump veto is expected, and the overriding it would require 2/3 support. There are twists and turns here. Let me explain this. So a resolution doesn't necessarily have to go to the president. And could not be vetoed, so to speak. But because it does not become law, it is pretty weak and it's just sort of fluffy. Trump will ignore it. So, in other words, for this to be really binding on Trump, it has to be a law, and it can't become a law without Trump approving it. If he vetoes it, the only remedy they have to make it a law is to get a 2/3 majority of both houses, and that does not look anywhere like it would ever happen. Normally, a joint resolution would be directed to the president. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be a law. It would be a policy decision that Congress is making to try to get Trump to cooperate, but it wouldn't be legally compelling. So the bottom line here is I don't think we need to be expecting a resolution from both houses to pass and become law because Trump wouldn't approve it. Then they have to get a 2/3 vote. Now, if Trump's aliens are attacking Iran, can Congress stop it? I'm kidding. All right. Oh, the Trumpster, huh? Okay. Last night, the American military, assumptively the Navy, in the Indian Ocean. So you have the Persian Gulf moving east or to the right, then you got the Sea of Oman, and then you get into the Indian Ocean. Uh, they seized, in other words, they grabbed and confiscated an Iranian tanker that had over a million barrels of oil that was loaded on Karg Island. Okay, so the Iranians were trying to pull a move, and they loaded up a tanker with at least a million barrels of oil. So, what is oil selling for? We'll get a dollar value on it, okay? Uh, well, I don't know if we use Brent or WTI, but let's just put it in the middle roughly. $105 a barrel, not for physical delivery. On physical delivery, it's about, let's say, 125 or $130 a barrel. So let's put it on let's get a number. $130 a barrel times a million. Now, there were more than a million barrels, but we'll just call it a million. So the Iranians took a bath of $130 million last night. You see, Trump is really hurting them. He's choking them, but he's not got them completely asphyxiated. They're just gagging. You know? And they can keep going like this for quite a while. Not forever, but a while. Ibrahim Azizi. It's Abraham, but they call him Ibrahim because they believe Abraham is Avraham is the Hebrew, and they think it's just stupid stuff. Okay, chairman of the Iranian Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Commission. Wow, it sounds like they're a legitimate country, not a bunch of maniacs. Trump's hesitation is rooted in one reality. He knows any move against Iran means facing a decisive military response and a united nation and a unified nation. All right. I don't think they're that unified. He obviously does not care about the mediation of the Persian Gulf state heads. Power is the only language he understands. Okay. It's true and it's not true. They see that Trump is full of fear. But they've got fear too. Um, and that's why it's been sitting around waiting the war. Because they're both afraid of each other. Okay? Push comes to shove, America's going to win. Because nobody's fighting on the American homeland. Trump was asked by a reporter, how many days does Iran have to come to the table? Trump's response, 2 or 3 days. This was on Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In other words, Trump's thinking Friday afternoon at 3:30 America time, the market closes. Good time to start the war. And then he says maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe early next week. A limited period of time. He would probably favor starting it Friday afternoon, evening, or sometime on Saturday. so that people don't wake up and come out of their alcoholic stupors of eating pizzas and Chinese food over the weekend and say, oh my gosh, look at this. I want to sell my position. Sell, sell, sell. Yeah, he wants it calmer. He might tell us that the aliens told him to attack. Can the Congress get rid of Trump by stating that he's insane, using the aliens to do it? Or he's lying? Same difference. He's insane. Could that work? Yeah, all they got to do is tell him to produce the alien. Bring the alien to appear before a joint session of both houses. Could Trump go take some guy and have him dress up like an alien, like his kid, the tall one? I don't think so. I don't think he'd do that. There was an old TV show. It's not that old. It's probably less than 10 years old maximum. Probably less. It went for about 5 seasons, so it went for a while. The stars probably made a few $1 million off of it. Guy named Noah Wiley starred in it, and it's called Falling Skies. It basically is America got invaded and heavily wiped out, okay? And these aliens, which were grotesque looking, very strong, very fast, very violent, but very vulnerable to bullets. And they had some advanced weaponry. They were an advanced race. They could travel from imaginary planets to America and attack, you know. It focuses on America, so we don't really know what's going on in the rest of the world, but they pretty much attacked the whole world, and a lot of people in America are still alive. By a lot. Maybe a few 100,000. Maybe 1 million or 2 million, I don't know. So a lot of these, they call them skitters, these aliens went back to their mother planet and they left behind on Earth a bunch of aliens, okay? Not that many. And the aliens had robots that would defend them, that could shoot guns. They had different kinds. They had robots that were maybe only 8 or 9 feet high or 7 feet, and they had others that were, 15, 18 feet or 12 feet or so, I don't know, And they captured a lot of children on Earth, and they put a device on them that would embed itself into their body, and it would heal them of diseases, but it would control them and make them want to be with the aliens to the point of even betraying their parents and brothers and sisters, where they would consider the aliens better or closer than their family. So what they did in the show is they brought another race of aliens in that wanted to help the Americans who were actively killing the aliens, and they were called the Ashwingi or something. These looked like the Trump one, except they were generally green or something. And They they were helping America fight against these aliens. So what if Trump comes up with a plot that the Iranians have aliens? Different aliens. Or something like that. I don't know. You know? Congress might. I think they could sink him if they want to. They just say he's insane and get him removed. And if he's not insane, show us the alien. And then Trump says it's you don't have a clearance. It's too high of a security clearance. Well, that's when he leaves office. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I have no idea. So Israel has taken to intercepting flotilla boats far away from Israel, hundreds of miles away. They don't want them coming close. That gets them, when they come close, it gets them in the news and all that. When they get interdicted 400 or 500 miles out or something like that, it doesn't really register in the news very well. This is interesting. Iranian state television yesterday, as part of live fire training with firearms inside the studio, in other words, they were demonstrating. The host and his guest shot at targets featuring the likenesses of Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. Netanyahu hates Iran. You don't have to do anything to get him excited against them. But Trump is very cowardly about things. Trump talking about Iran's capabilities now in a resumed war, so to speak, right? Okay, their ability to respond is very limited. 52% of their missiles are already gone. The Chinese president promised me that he is not sending any weapons to Iran. That's a nice promise. Well, he might be sending missile defense systems and not calling that a weapon. I don't know. He might be sending them chemicals to fuel missiles and rockets and not calling that a weapon. I don't know. The Chinese guy is not trustworthy. Trump says, I trust his word. I appreciate that. Maybe he figures that Iran went too far and trying to dominate the Straits of Hormuz, charge tolls and charge people money to use the internet cables. Maybe China figured it was too much. Trump also might have given China a sweetheart deal on all the oil they want. Trump says the Strait of Hormuz does not belong to Iran. I agree. These are international waters. I agree. If I were to leave today, it would take them 25 years to recover. But we are not leaving. You see, what Trump says doesn't mean anything. You understand that? Trump's actions are meaningful. His actions now tell us he's getting ready for war. Now, that's a double-edged sword. What do I mean? I mean that Trump may not have a lot of intentions of resuming the war. He just wants to see if he could choke them out with the blockade, which isn't working that well, but working. And he wants to defend himself if they attack him. So I don't know. The State Department is currently strongly urging people to not travel to the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, South Sudan, Uganda, for any reason, and to reconsider travel to Rwanda due to Ebola. I wouldn't get that excited about the Ebola. We've seen this in the last 10 years, what, 3 or 4 times? It's almost ongoing. It stays in Africa. They usually suppress it. I wouldn't get that worried about it. The hantavirus, guys, that's getting blown out of proportion. It is very, very, very rare to see it spread from human to human. It comes from rats or mice that are sick, put their droppings down, and the dust from the droppings gets blown about, and you inhale it. And the expedition cruise ship, not a real cruise ship, an expedition ship, they go to wilderness places. They were in Africa, and they probably were taking people on tours in Africa, probably to the animal reserves or something like that. And you know, Africa has great living conditions, right? So something happened. They went to a hotel. They went to an expeditionary ship could stop for a few days, and you get off and travel by bus or by train in the country, and then you come back to the ship in a couple of days. Somehow they picked it up. Maybe they went to restaurants, hotels. They went to a nightclub that had it, and they were getting drinks. I don't know, but I'm rather certain they picked it up in Africa. Now, the ship, I don't know this cruise line, and this ship could have had the rats come on the boat, and it was spreading in the boat, although not that many people in the boat got it. Now, these boats don't hold 3,500 people and a 1,500 crew. They hold 100, 200, max 300. I don't think this boat was anywhere near that. Probably about 200 or 150, maybe more. I don't know. Not that many. And they have if they got 200 people, they probably got 35 in the crew. 40, no, they might have 60 even, or 75. They could have that many. They're expensive, and they're not real cruise ships. The ships aren't built like cruise ships. They don't have the facilities, and I don't believe they practice. I don't think they take care of the people as sanitarily as a real cruise ship does, like a Royal Caribbean or, a Carnival even, or, all the other lines, Princess and Silver Seas. And they really watch it. Now, how did the people get the norovirus? I'm going to tell you exactly how they get it, because I've been on a lot of cruises, and I was on a ship once where they put a message under our door at night after we stopped in Mexico, telling us that the norovirus has been found on the ship, and if you got the symptoms, this is what they are. Come to the medical center, and we'll not charge you, and we'll treat you. It's basically diarrhea, maybe nausea, maybe a mild fever, feeling malaise. It lasts a few days. It's food poisoning. It's food poisoning. That's what it is. Food poisoning. Okay? What happens in Mexico? You go to Cozumel or Meridia, these islands, and you'll see 10 or more cruise ships parked out in the bay. Each cruise ship has got probably a low of 2,500 tourists to a high of 5,000. Probably you're averaging about 3,500. Okay? So you got 35,000 tourists, right? So they're taking shuttle boats onto the land and they're trying to look around and see what's going on. Some of them take excursions. What the heck are you going to do for an excursion in these islands? I have no idea. It'd be a waste of time. I took excursions on other Caribbean islands and they show you things that are completely stupid. Like one is they show you an old fort from the 1700s to defend against pirates or something. And it's mildly interesting for a few minutes. You know, another one shows you a prison. Another one shows you a government building. It's a joke. They got one that takes you to waterfalls. What do the people do a lot of times in Meridia or Cozumel? They'll take a jaunt to a beach, a private beach, or a beach, and then the people there charge you $10, $20, $30 to get into the beach, which is stupid. And then if you want a Chez Lounge or something like that, they'll charge you another $10 or $20. And if you want an actual cabana, they'll charge you $200, $300 or something. It's a rip-off. You know, I never went to a paid beach. The only time I ever went to a beach is these cruise ships have a private island. Royal Caribbean has one. Disney has one. They all seem to have one now. And it's not a bad experience. The ships usually docks and you got to take a shuttle from the ship to get to the shore, but they can have, I think now they built piers out so that you could dock up and just walk, or they may need to give you some shuttle ride on a little electric train of cars like you see at Disney World or something like that, you know. And they take you to the beach, and then you want a Chez Lounge, you know, you just ask for one, they give it to you. You don't pay for it. Well, now they might make you pay for it, but and what they do is very deceitful by the cruise ship. I'll tell you what they do. They praise a barbecue over there. Oh, okay. And what is this barbecue? Well, they have covered areas where you want to go over to the covered area. You know, and they'll have a band playing. They make it nice, okay? You got nice bathrooms, and, you know, they make it nice. And you go to this covered area, and it's a food place, and they got a grill, or maybe with wood or charcoal, and they're cooking chicken wings, hamburgers, and hot dogs, right? With French fries or some other stuff. So you go there, and that's what they give you to eat, an absolute junk meal, okay? A junk meal. Instead of you going on the boat and eating salmon and roast beef and having a good lunch on the boat, you're eating garbage. I mean, pure garbage. Hot dog, you know? So they're making money on you because you're not eating the good food, which they could save in their freezers and use it on the next cruise. Right? You know what I mean? Okay. It's not that bad of an experience. They usually have a nice beach and you can swim in the water, and if the time of year is right, the water's very comfortable. And you can sit on the sand, and some of them have bicycles you can rent and ride around. Now, over the years, when I went there, this was a new idea that had just been taken off. Now they built it up, and they have water slides they put there, and different things like that. So they make it a better experience, you know, in some ways. It's not a bad thing, but I wouldn't eat there. What I would do is go to the island and then go back to the ship and have a lunch and then come back to the island, have a nice lunch instead of eating their garbage. But nobody does that. You know, maybe 5% of the people do that. The rest of them just sit there and they eat the barbecue. You know, I think they'll also give you pizza if you want. I'm not sure, but you know, junk. They give you junk food. Now, if you go on the 6-star cruise like Silver Seas and those guys, they take you to one of their islands, which is not water slides and you know stuff like that, and they feed you a beautiful meal. One of the cruise ships claim to fame, and I think maybe others do this now, is they have a guy that's driven from the boat to the shore with a jet ski, and he's holding caviar on a tray. And he gets off in the water dressed in his white and black dress attire. And he walks onto shore holding the caviar and starts serving the people caviar. So they fill you with caviar the whole time you're on shore. And they'll have a barbecue there too, but you could have you know, you could have a ribeye, a filet mignon, you could have a piece of salmon. They probably have lobster, you know, and stuff like that, right? Okay, big difference, right? Other than that, it's pretty much the same thing, except they'll have more cabana type places. They probably don't charge you for that. You'll have lounge chairs that are nicer. They'll have washable fabric things on there instead of plastic slats, and they'll be bigger and more comfortable. And you'll have waiters there that you could order soda and liquor from that they don't charge you for because your bar bill is part of the ship. You could get champagne and all. So I've never been on a 6-star. I regret that big time, all the time, that I never took one. I should have. I had the money to do it, but I never did it. I should have. I was going to take one once where you fly to Europe and they put you on that train, whatever they call that expensive train. I forgot what it is now. It's like a 5-star train. They put you on that for about 6 hours, and they feed you a 5 or 6 course meal. And they take you. The train takes you to where the boat is. So the boat is not where the airport is. It's some hours away, or how they set it up on this run. So you take that big train and they put your baggage on there for you, and then you take it to the boat, and it's I believe it was a 6-star boat. It was the Cunard line, the Queen Mary, that kind of stuff, and you know, then you get on that boat, and it would take you back to America. You cross the Atlantic. Uh, Crossing the Atlantic is, you know, I think 5 days at sea, and that when you're at sea more than one day on a cruise ship, I've been like 3 days at sea in a row, and it really gets boring, you know. And what do you see? I saw the sea. That's what it is. You look at the sea every day. It's the same. It gets boring, and most people don't like being on the water even a whole day. Okay, most people don't like it. When I first started cruising, I would get off the boat in Orlando, uh, and I would go to. I wouldn't go right home. I'd go to, you know, Universal Studios or Disney World for a couple of days, unwind from the cruise, and then go home. And I remember thinking that the hotel floor was moving when I got right off the boat. And the second day, too, it was for 2 days. I thought the ship was moving when I was on land in a hotel. After about 3 cruises or something like that, it went away. You didn't do that anymore. But in the beginning, it did. Beginning, it did. So they don't like to keep people at sea. Once I got caught up in a hurricane, they extended the cruise by 3 days, and they kept us at sea, and they kept keeping away from the hurricane, and it was a sunny day. And then they kept us in the sun away from the hurricane. They did a good job, but it gets boring, and the whole ship falls apart. They have a whole routine. Sunday they do this, Tuesday this, Friday this, right? And then Sunday morning you're off the boat. They know by the day of the week exactly what's going on. They know what food is being served. They know what the shows are. They know where the ports are. They know everything. Okay? And the shows are rigidly put in place. The big shows in the theater, and then they have little bars and lounges where they have other shows with live music. Everything is going on a weekly clock, like clockwork. Now, sometimes you can take a 10-day cruise. I believe that's the limit that I ever took. Did I take a 2-week? I might have taken a 14-day. I think 10. I might have done 14 once. I don't know. That's really too long. I think that for most people, 10 days is better than 7 because you get more rested if you want to rest. What happens, you get on a cruise ship with 3,500 or 4,500 people. It's, over 1,000 feet. It's got 16, 18 decks high above the water, plus 3 or 4 or 5 decks under the, inside the ship. I mean, it's massive, okay? Day one, you don't know where you are. Unless you've been on the ship before. You don't know where you are. You're stumbling around. Where's my cabin? Where's the dining room? And whenever you go to the hallways, they usually on these big ships, they got elevators in 3 places. Middle, front, and rear, along with staircases. And they have a big map of the ship put on the wall. It's like a drawing of the ship made out of metal, and it shows you, has a sign, "You are here," with an arrow, right? And then you see the elevators and everything like that, right? Okay, you are here. And then you go, you follow the directions, and that's how you get around for usually the Sunday the cruise starts and the Monday. By Tuesday, you're pretty good with where you are on the ship. By Wednesday, you know the ship cold. You know how to do everything. It takes about that long. You want to know, where's the ice skating rink? Where's the arcade? Where's the photograph place? Where's the purser's office? Where's the theater, the big theater? Where's the buffet? Where are all these little extra restaurants they have? Where do I get the towels? Where's the gym? Where's the spa? Where's the indoor pool? Where are the indoor jacuzzis? Where are the outdoor jacuzzis? Where's the adult pool? Where's the adult jacuzzis? Where do I get the food outside on the deck? Where do they have the naked people deck, so I don't want to go near them? If it depends on the cruise line, they have areas like that. Usually they're fenced off, and they say no minors and stuff like that. And where's the basketball? Where's the wave thing? Where's the rock climbing wall? Where's the miniature golf? By about Wednesday, you know where everything is, but you're getting off the boat on Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you're in good shape. You really know your way around the boat. You know how to get to where you want to be, and you know how to find your cabin quickly and expeditiously, right? So this is a good thing. Okay? Then you get off the boat on Sunday. So if you weren't getting off the boat on Sunday, you were getting off the boat like Tuesday or something like that, or the following Sunday, you would know everything and you would be trying all the different food venues, all the different things. You'd be getting on different stops. You might make some friends on the boat, and you would be uh, you'd be doing okay. Okay. So that's one thing that you don't really learn until you become an experienced cruiser, is you need to, balance it. Now, most people can get on a cruise for a week. When you start getting a cruises in 10 days, you get older people. When you start getting on into cruises with 2 weeks, the amount of people under 60 are almost non-existent. Okay? Uh, that's what you got. Okay. And a lot of people that take the cruises on these longer things, on the high-end boats mostly, the cheaper boats, the Princess, the Carnival, the Royal Caribbeans, their basic bread and butter is a 7-day cruise. They have 3 days, 4 days, and 7 days. The big cruises, the big 6 stars, they have cruises for 90 days. Yeah. And there's people that go on them. There's people that are retired and they got millions of dollars in the bank and they don't want a yacht. Why? They don't know what they're going to do with it. They're not going to use it enough. And they don't want to support a crew. They don't know where they want to keep it. They might live inland. How are they going to have a yacht? So they don't have a yacht. Okay? They don't need a yacht. They don't want a yacht. Okay? So what do? They might live on a horse ranch. Okay? They like horses and they're inland someplace. They might have 90 acres or something, And they ride the horses around and they breed horses and they like that stuff. Okay, so they want to go on a water vacation and they could rent a yacht. And people do that, but if you're going to rent like a 120-foot yacht with a crew, which is going to be maybe 10 people, counting the cooks, the cabin attendants, they call them stewardesses, the crew, the captain, maybe 10 people in the crew, and you could bring 12 people, no problem, right? Something like that for a week, it probably run about $250,000, and they would take you around and bring you to different islands, say in the Caribbean and stuff, right? And the chef would consult with you daily on the food. You'd have fantastic food, fantastic food. They'd give you all the booze you want. You'd have a pretty nice time. Okay, but that's not where the big money goes. The big money is going to go out and they're going to rent like a 350 or at least a 250-foot boat. And they're going to have 12 cabins, and each cabin will hold 2 people, and they're going to have a suite for themselves that might be 2,000 or 3,000 square feet. That's their living quarters, right? And the crew is probably going to be like 20 people. Okay. And they're going to have probably 2 to 3 people on food preparation. And something like that's gonna run about $1 million a week, right? So that's a great thing to do if you want to impress your family or your friends or your business associates. Or it's not something if there's a couple that are, retirement, they're in their 60s, maybe 70s, they're not going to want to go rent a yacht by themselves. It's not that much fun. You don't have entertainment on the yacht. You don't need other people other than the crew, which is the crew. And they it's huge. You know, they don't do that. So what they could do is they could go book themselves a 2 week cruise on one of these 6 star lines like Cristal or uh, Silver Seas is another one. There's about 3 or 4 of them. Maybe there's a fifth one. Probably 3 or 4. And they got cabins there, or suites. You can get 1,000 square feet, which is nice. You know what you're going to have is you'll have a nice big stateroom where your bed's not 6 inches from the wall or something like that, right? And it'll have beautiful furniture, and your bedroom will have a balcony, but it's not going to be 3 feet. It'll be maybe 4.5 feet thick, you know, and you'll have another balcony off the living room, and it'll have a jacuzzi just for you on the balcony outside. You'll have a dining room, you'll have a living room, you'll have a bedroom, you'll have 2 bathrooms, and you'll have an inside jacuzzi. You'll have a butler. And it'll be 1,000, 1,200 square feet. For most of these people, that's really, really adequate. It'll have 2 or 3 big screen TVs. So in other words, if you want to just vacation in your own suite, right? You can. The butler will bring you anything you want to eat and serve it to you at your table. Now that's a little deceptive. What he's probably going to do in 1,000, 1,200 square foot suite, he's going to make the table for you. He's going to get your salads, your entrees, your appetizers, your breads, your desserts, soup, everything in one trip. Okay? And he's going to bring it down, and he's probably not going to stay there and serve you that much. He might. If you got your own butler, he will. So he'll stand there and serve you the meal, and they got things to keep certain food cold and warm during this. So he'll sit there and serve you the whole meal, which could be an hour and a half or 2 hours. Mind you, when people leave, they give these people tips that, go, $800, $1,500 tips, They tip them 2,000, 3,000 even, it gets way up there, okay? So something like that's going to cost about $10,000 a week, okay? Now, they go up from there. They got 1,500, 2,000. And then the top of the line is they got 3,000 square foot suites. What are those like? Well, they're 2 to 3 bedrooms, so people could bring their relatives with them if they want to, like grandchildren or something like that, right? They're on 2 floors. They got living rooms, sitting areas, bedrooms downstairs, bedrooms upstairs, balconies upstairs, balconies downstairs, all sorts of refrigerators all over the place, bars all over the place, grand pianos. They have beds in these things where the mattresses cost $100,000, really. And you got jacuzzi. I've never heard of one with a swimming pool. I don't think they bother with that because the pool would be very small. What would be the point? But the jacuzzis get big. Instead of a tiny little jacuzzi in one of these suites, you're going to have one that holds, 8 or 10 people, a big jacuzzi. Every day they come and clean your jacuzzi. They empty it, they scrub it, they wash it out, they hose it out, they fill it up, put new water in and heat it up for you every day. So your jacuzzi never goes to seed, and you got balconies there that are going to be wide and they're going to be like 40, 50 feet. I've been on ships where I had balconies that big in a suite. So you could really, and they got multiple tables out there. You could have your dinner out there. You could open up the sliding doors and have your dinner inside with the sea air. So that's overkill for two people. But you know, if they're going to bring their family, they do that. You know, so they basically can experience on the suite. You could experience the cruise. Like this is the ships of Tarshish, so I keep talking about the cruise. You could experience the cruise without mingling with the people. You know, maybe if you had a 1800 square foot suite, it would be more appropriate. It would still be on one level, but you'd have two bedrooms, you'd have a lot of space to walk around in, you know, multiple balconies. You could sit outside, you could sit inside. So, when would you want to go to uh, circulate around the ship? Well, you don't have the show in your room, so you would call your butler and tell your butler you want to see the show, and he would get you seats close up. He would have a conference with you at the onset of the cruise, and if you told him every night you wanted to see the show, he'd make sure you had seats within the first, if you wanted it, the first 2, 3 rows, or if you told him you want middle seating, whatever you wanted, and they would put a rope up and reserve the seats for you. If you told him you wanted different kinds of booze, he would bring that up there for you. He would ask you what kind of fruit basket you want, what kind of snacks you want. So in the morning, he would bring you fresh fruit in a basket, all kinds of fruit. He would also bring you canapes, you know, fattening junk, pastries with chocolate on them, and you know, stuff like that if you wanted that junk. Um, he would bring you snacks if you wanted sushi before dinner. Uh, he would want to know if you want me to bring you the meal in your room. Now they have alternative restaurants where you can get really good food, and it costs you maybe 50, $100 a head. They don't care about that. So they would, well, on the 6 stars, the alternative restaurants are free. So he'll even go to an alternative restaurant, like an Italian restaurant or a sashimi restaurant, and collect your meal there and bring it up to the room and serve it to you. So these people don't necessarily want to eat in the dining room with strangers, although some enjoy that. They have a guy playing the piano in the dining room. It's big, it's nice, you meet people. Some may want to do that. Some don't care about the shows, some want to see the shows. Some would want to go lay out in the sun by the pool where everybody is for some reason. They do it. Others want to lay on the balcony in their own cruise ship, but that getting the sun only works certain times a day because you're generally on a side of the ship. If you're in the front of the ship with a suite, you're going to get wind. If you're in the back of the ship with a suite, you're in the sweet spot. You don't get the wind, and you got the sun all day long. That's the sweet spot, not in the front. And you know, it's so they got their vacation. So they take a 2 week cruise and they get a big. They maybe they drop $25,000, $30,000, right? And it's not as luxurious as having your own yacht, but it's pretty luxurious. You know, the food's not going to be as good, but it's going to be good, really good. And if you are going to take the trip, um, there are people that bring their own cook. Okay, so they rent a suite and they bring their chef, and their chef gets a cabin. They probably get him a cabin with a balcony, or maybe not, right? And they bring the food in a you know, in those insulated picnic things, and the crew keeps it in the freezers. They keep the salad in the special freezer, the meat in another one, you know, for you, and it's specially marked that's your stuff, right? So you got your own caviar, you got your own very expensive steaks and lamb chops and fish, and you know, people do this, and they'll do it for you if you're dropping, you know, 10,000, 20,000 a week. You know, they don't care, and they'll put it up for you, and then the chef goes and pulls it, and then he cooks it. The other thing people will do, and they'll do this too, is the chef goes to the dining room. They work this out, and he gets the meat and the salad and all that from them, and he comes and prepares it that way. But it's not that many people do this, you know. If you go on the, I think it's the Cunard boat, I think they're the only ones. They have a place you could bring your dog, and they have kennels for the dog that are like the size of your kennel in a house. They're not that great, right? And you go visit your dog, but you got to keep your dog up there in the dog area, which is a pretty good sized area, and they got fire hydrants and street lights and stuff the dog can pee on. And the dog likes to pee on them because all the other dogs are peeing on it. And they got areas where the dog can poop, and they got attendants there that are constantly cleaning it up. And you could feed your dog, or they'll feed them, and hang out with your dog and walk around. So you could take a cruise and spend a lot of time visiting your dog. I don't know if you could bring him to your cabin. I don't think so. It's an outdoor area, but I think the kennels, they have a way to protect them from the elements. I think they got to be inside because it could be freezing out on the Atlantic. That's what they do. So I guess they take the dogs out 3-4 times a day. They probably take them 4 times a day, or you could take them. And most of the people have small dogs like this. They don't bring. I guess some people bring German shepherds, but generally they bring a little dog. So a little dog in the big kennel is a big difference, you know. And they keep them very clean. You could get the dog bathed probably once on the cruise or something, you know. And I don't know how you deal with getting them into countries. I don't know how you do that. There must be a way to do it with paperwork. Uh, and that's how, you know, that's the only cruise line I think that does that. That's pretty interesting. So, yeah. So a lot of millionaires don't want to use yachts, so they go on these cruises. I've been on cruises with millionaires. Big Jack Black, that movie star. I was on a cruise with him. He had a big suite. His suite had a doorbell to ring, and it had a peephole, and it had a burglar alarm on it. And he had a little entourage, 2 people that were probably his personal assistants. He was with his female companion, and I was on there with another guy. I can't remember his name. He was an older guy with white hair, and he did old Western movies. I can't remember. He was a pretty big star. On a cruise with him. I can't remember all. I was probably on cruises with other movie stars, and that's just movie stars. But you wouldn't know who the other guys are, the ones in industry, you know. I've met people in industry that I know were pretty sophisticated businessmen, and they had money. I don't have any doubt about it. You know, that's what went on. You know, it was so they. The other thing that people don't understand, if you get a job working on these yachts, generally they're good jobs. They make a lot of money. You know. People don't, nobody, you know, you grow up, your parents don't say, oh, go learn how to go work on yachts. You know, nobody does that. Of course, the big problem is getting to break in. Now, if you go to maritime school and you get different kinds of ratings for ships, merchant marine ships, I think it can transfer to some extent to the cruise ships. You want to get a captain's rating. Then you got yourself a very high earning job on a yacht that doesn't do much. They can make, you know, $250,000 a year, 150, depending what they want to do, and it's easy work. And, you know, it's not hard work, but you're gone a lot. You know, you're not always, you know, there. a lot of times the boat is docked up, and they might keep the crew. They got to keep a certain amount of crew all the time when the boat's docked up. They got to keep cleaning the boat, maintaining the boat, polishing the brass and the copper, washing and cleaning, and all the every day, you know, um, and they got to run uh, the generators to keep the hydraulics and everything moving. They got to start the engines probably a few times a month to make sure the main engines, not the generator, keep them going. So they might not always keep the captain on there, but I think a lot of them do. Or they might keep the first mate, the guy that's responsible for the motors. Usually they got a guy that's the captain on a big boat, like a 250, 350 foot boat. They got a captain, they got an assistant captain that are operating the boat. Then they got a guy that's in charge of the motor. They got a guy that's in charge of like electronics, and then they got a navigator. So they got about 5 people that are really running the boat. Of course, it's sophisticated. Hello? Yeah. Hi. Okay. Let me have. No, I could use 20 cans of the stuff I always get. What are they? I forgot what they call it. Yeah. Now, and also, the English, the treats for the dogs, they come in the little envelope. You know what I mean? Yeah, the treats. You give them for free when I buy the. Yeah, I want to buy some. I want to buy some. Well, what do you sell them? Like 3 or 10? All right, let me get 10 mixed up. No chicken, please. No chicken. 20. No chicken, yeah. And with the fish, only salmon. Only. Yeah, all right? Sound good? Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, bye. Bye. That was my pet food guy telling me that there's not going to be any deliveries until Sunday or Monday or something. I think we're going into Shavuot. Not the real Shavuot, the rabbi's Talmudic Shavuot. And they might, maybe Trump is stalling the war for that. Let's get a date on rabbinical Shavuot. Let's get a date. Um, AI doesn't know the difference. I'll just do it like this. What is the date in 2026 for Shavuot in Israel? Shavuot in Israel. I put in Shavuot and it spelt it Chevrolet. Okay, it starts Thursday and it runs until Friday night, and then Saturday's a holiday, so that would be the problem. Okay. Oh, I see what's going to happen here with them coming to the beach in Tiberias. I can see this already. So what's going to happen is this. They're going to come up to the beach today or tomorrow, and they're going to have Thursday. No, wait a minute. It starts nighttime Thursday. Today's Wednesday. So they'll come tomorrow. They'll take Thursday off, not Wednesday. So a lot of them will have Thursday off. So it'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, So they'll have a 3-day run to go to the beaches. That's what they're going to do. So they're going to clog up Tiberias because Shavuot is not a real serious holiday um, like other holidays are. So they'll come to the beach. They'll take advantage. That's what's going to go on. So they're going to swarm other places too, Tel Aviv Beach and stuff like that. They like coming to see Galilee because it's cheaper. The hotels are far cheaper than they are in Tel Aviv, half the price. And they got campsites, which you don't have in Tel Aviv. So they get a campsite on the Sea of Galilee, and they have tents, and they sit there and they play the radio, and it's noisy all night. They don't care because they got bottles of scotch, 24 cans of beer, and they say, go, 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 go. And, by your third or fourth can of beer, you don't hear the noise, right? And usually they have an outhouse there, and they have a shower and stuff, like an outdoor shower. So you go there basically in your bathing suit, and you stand under the shower, and you rinse yourself off. You normally wouldn't lather up, although you could. So that's what's going on. So, so he was afraid I would run out of food or something, so I got plenty of dry food, I know that, and I was running low on wet food, so I got more wet food. And if I ran out of dry food and I got cans of wet food, I just, for 2 or 3 days, I just give them a bunch of wet food, that's all. They'd like that. My wife went shopping today, so she's probably more aware of it than I was, so she's loading up. I'll be right back in a second. So Netanyahu needs a war. He just told the High Court that he can't go to court and testify today because of security and war problems. So he needs this war. I think they're going to attack Iran. They don't have any other solution. I just hope they shut the missile cities down. And that's what the whole thing's about. If they could shut the missile cities and the missile launches down, then they could save the day and just knock out Iran. But we don't know if they're able to do that. Iran needs ballistic missiles to hit Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. They're not going to make it with many short-range missiles. The Iranians are now saying that they might occupy the UAE shore on the Persian Gulf. In other words, they may grab a piece of land that belongs to the UAE, which means they could cut the UAE off from using their waterway in the Persian Gulf. I don't give a hoot about the UAE, guys. It's an oddball Muslim country. The king, although he calls himself a president, I think, he he invested and he built the place up. What he did is he built man-made islands, and he built very expensive houses on these man-made islands that I don't think they all sold or anything, or maybe some didn't. I don't know. They're like for a detached house where your neighbor is 12, 15 feet away, not 6 inches away, but not 30, 40 feet away either. If you got a neighbor that's, 40, 50 feet away, you're still going to hear his noise and parties, but you're going to have a lot of peace of mind. And then if you put double or triple pane glass on your windows, you're probably not going to hear anything from them inside. So, even double pane does a good job. Triple is really soundproofing. So they're like $3 million for a dumpy version to $20 million for a really nice one. They're not that nice. I've seen videos of them. They're not that nice. Their sand, their beach sand is a joke. They have a yard that's 50 feet, and then they got a piece of sand that's 15 feet, and then they got the water. I don't think many of these people even use the outside. It's very hot much of the year. In the middle of the day, it could hit 110, 120, 108. It's anything over 90, 93. You're really not going to be happy outside. In the 80s, it's not so bad. In the cooler months, I guess they use it. And then they built a lot of high-rise office buildings on some of these islands. Really high. Some of these 120-story buildings. And they built hotels where you have maybe the first 8 or 10 floors are hotels, and then above that are apartments. And they built a lot of apartments that are for sale, not for rent. Very expensive ones on these man-made islands. They all got water views, but so what? And then he built shopping malls, and he built like Ferrari World, which is like roller coasters. Warner Brothers theme park that's indoors because of the weather. That was $1 billion they dropped. Every time I see a video, it has people in it, but it's not very full. It's a tourist attraction for Muslims with money. They like to go there because they're in Sharia law. They could eat their horrible food that they disgustingly kill the animals painfully for. It's horrible, horrible. And they can run around with other Muslims and that kind of thing, right? And they got other amusement parks. They got a ton of water slide parks, ton of water parks of different nature, stuff like that. And they got very, very good shopping that's really duty free. And so he made tremendous investments, not just in oil and gas, but in these things. He also built himself a very nice airline. Saudi Arabia, no, they're too dumb for that. They don't do that. Kuwait, no, they don't do that. Kuwait, Saudi is all about the royal family. And then you got Bahrain. Yeah, not too much of that. People that live in Bahrain live a little better than they probably do in the other countries. The same for Qatar. They don't have that much infrastructure, but people that live in Qatar get treated okay. Um, Again, these are all Muslim majority countries in dictatorship. Oman is very small, they got nothing going on, dictatorship. Jordan can almost resemble a real country without the Sharia law, but not quite. They're closer to a real country than uh, a lot of others are. And Syria is a lunatic bin. Uh, there's nothing there, you know. Lebanon used to be a nice place. They had ski resorts. They probably still do. Lebanon, which will be part of Israel very soon, has beautiful beaches and great skiing. I mean, their beaches are 9 on a 10 scale. They're not going to be quite like the Caribbean beaches, which are really top notch, because a lot of these Caribbean beaches, you could look at the water and see down 6-10 feet. Okay, you're not going to get that in the Mediterranean. So you're not going to have that type of, unless when the Lord changes the heavens and the earth, it may be that way, I don't know, but we're going to have beautiful beaches up there, I think. Gaza is going to be a beautiful beach. We're going to have to clean it, or when we get a new heaven, new earth will be cleansed, because they put their sewage there. They live like pigs, you know. And we'll have parts of Egypt east of the Nile, and that'll also be on the water, which would make me think we get the Suez Canal, if that's still being used. The places that Iran wants to destroy the most are Qatar, well, UAE number one, and I think it's a tie with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Then comes Qatar. The others, they're not in such urgent desire to destroy, but they'll get them. They'll get them. If they see themselves getting attacked, they may just drop bombs down on the internet cables. Not just in the UAE, and not just in the Persian Gulf, but we have spotted Iranian personnel, the Al-Quds, in Yemen, western Yemen, on the Red Sea. And they're apparently getting ready to missile attack ships, along with the Houthis helping them. They've been spotted, okay? The Quds, and they've probably got anti-ship missiles that probably got a range of about 10 miles, but that gives them a pretty decent range, and then they probably have drones that could reach across that pincher point, and that's 7% of the oil traffic, and the Persian Gulf, they say, is 20 to 25%. It's probably 25. So if you add the Persian Gulf in with the Red Sea blockage, you got about a third of the world's oil. And that's going to knock the prices up a lot. Remember, physical delivery now, you're paying about $130, $135 a barrel, okay, for physical delivery, okay? Where it, before this stuff started, it was in around the $60 range, so it doubled and then some. And it's not going to take much to triple to 180 for physical delivery, nothing at all. A few days, boom, you're at 180. And then as it goes, then you'll be from 180, you'll go to 240 and 300. If it's going to go higher than that, we don't know, but it'll go between 2 and 300 pretty easily for physical delivery. And the reason the gold is not really driving up is not so much that they're out there suppressing the gold and the silver, the people that are suppressing the gold and the silver are not seeing it as that advantageous for a quick score gambling on futures, which is where the gold and the silver prices are coming from, the futures. Okay. So if they're saying gold's about 4,500 an ounce, and you go to a store in your area, like a pawn shop or a coin dealer, gold dealer, and you want to buy it, I have a feeling if it's 4,500 on paper, you're probably going to be at 46, 47, 48, something like that. Because there's going to be a short supply of people that want to sell it. I don't know what the numbers are going to be exactly because it's going to vary with the time clock, but you're going to pay over. I'm pretty sure. If silver's 75, you're probably going to just pay 77 or 80 or 79 or something, not much more, a few dollars. So they're not putting their money in gold and silver because while the war starts, gold and silver is going to go up, right? They know that. But it's not going to double and triple. I mean, you're not going to see gold go to $13,500 very easily, are you? No, really not. But can you see oil going tripling to 300 a barrel? Yeah. A lot faster than gold's going to go to 13.5. Yeah. So they're going to put their money in the oil because they can make a quick killing in the oil. They're buying paper oil, futures. They're not taking physical delivery. Okay? So that's what's going on with that. I don't think anybody's really manipulating the gold and the silver right now because there's nobody driving it up. There's not that much demand. Now, when the war breaks out, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go for gold and silver. They're going to want it for security. The oil prices will be volatile. But the only way to buy gold and silver is physical delivery, and there's going to be only so much of that stuff on the market, so you're going to have to pay a premium. But unless things get weird, you're not going to pay a $25 premium. You're probably going to pay less. It's going to be a premium. And ultimately, gold will go up. The real value of gold today is about $48,000 an ounce. Do I think it will go up that high? It's hard for me to imagine that. I don't know. 10,000 would do it. It may go to 10,000. I don't have issues seeing that happen. I don't have issues seeing, silver go to a few $100s. There's people that talk about $500 to $1,000 an ounce on silver. Maybe if gold goes up enough, they're going to all start buying silver because there's not going to be that many people wanting gold. People are going to sit there that have the gold. The guy got, 32-ounce coins, 1-ounce coins of gold. And he said, what am I going to sell it for? What am I going to get? Paper money? What good does that do me? And just sit on it. So there's not going to be a great demand. People are going to sit there and wait for the markets to fall apart, for everything to fall apart. Then the gold and silver is going to be so valuable in barter, it's not even funny. Where the oil is no good for barter. What are you going to do? Take delivery? How many barrels of oil are you going to put in the house? 30? 50? That's about it, right? You're not going to, there's going to be people that'll probably do that. But I don't know what they're going to do with the oil. You got to get refined. It's got to be refined. It's kind of silly. So your gasoline in Europe, that's about $8. Without a doubt, it'll go to $12, $15. Probably 15. Okay. Crippling Europe. not putting them down, but crippling them. At least 15. And in America, I would say 10 anyway. That's going to be enough to create tremendous economic problems. And that could be what Trump's really afraid of. But he's like the old woman that lives in a shoe and doesn't know what to do. He got to do something because the Iranians are not nice. Let me take a look at the live stream, see if we got any questions popping up over there. And prayer requests, questions. And we're breaking the new record. I haven't had anybody send it over to me in 2 days. I guess people are mad at me for doing those Bible studies. Yeah, the name of the train is Orient Express. That's right. Thank you. Yeah, it's Orient Express. I never took it. There was a lot of things when I was in the world I had money I wanted to do, and I kept postponing them, and I never did them. And then things happened where I couldn't do it. So anyway, no, I think we're good in there. I'm going to put a prayer out for us, petitioning the Lord, asking Him for redemption. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I come again to you, my Heavenly Father, and ask you to push redemption forward. We're all busted up and weary, as I've told you previously, and I know I have, and we're all busted up, and we're all having a hard time, and we're all struggling. And it's very difficult for all of us. And we pray for mercy on us, not on the Satan bots, not on the ones that are evil. Mercy on us. And you bring redemption and everlasting life quickly. My Heavenly Father, I ask you for it to be quickly. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can certainly agree with that if you're a believer. Okay, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers and their households. I pray we have your strength, stamina, and endurance from you, and we have your healing and recuperative power flowing through our bodies, healing things that need to be healed. And I pray for our animals and pets and us, that we would all be safe, secure, and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I pray that Iran doesn't damage Israel anymore, that we're just going to have rebuild. And I pray that those of us that need a job or work, find it, nice, good jobs. Those of us that need clients or customers, find them too. I pray we all have adequate finances for whatever we need it for, and then some extra. And I pray to do better videos, and I pray that we all would understand the Bible better. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this as well if you're a believer. Now some spiritual warfare. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I come to you, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I loose off of me and my wife, all the true believers in our households and families, any curses or spells or enchantments on any of us, or witchcraft or sorcery. It's all cast off us, null and void forever. And if any of us have an unclean spirit, like in the families or the household, I command said unclean spirits to depart and never return again to these people. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, I had a spiritual warfare tip. Let me think how to express it for a second. Okay, one thing you can do is, it goes like this. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command any unclean spirit that ever did in the last 3 years any witchcraft or sorcery targeting me or my family or my ministry or anything I own, possess, control, or pertaining to our life. If any unclean spirit did something like this, I command them to come out of any person they're in now immediately and never go into any other person again for the next year, continuously, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, there's another way to do it. You can ask, okay, you can basically, well, I don't know if we should do that. Let me think. Just any unclean spirit that ever bothered you, you can keep saying whatever. If they're in any person now, I command them to depart from that person immediately. Now, you can do things like this. I command the unclean spirits to depart from, ABC, whoever you throw them out from. When I count 1, 2, 3, which I'll do in the future, when I get to the number 3, you have to depart from these people. And you have to depart from these people immediate, as quick as you possibly can. No reservation, no holding back on speed. You've got to come out immediately, and you are not allowed to warn the person now of what you're going to have to do, nor after the fact explain to the person what happened. So when I count 1, 2, 3, when I hit the number 3, you have to immediately depart from John and Jane Doe with no hesitation whatsoever, as fast as possible out of them. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now that ought to be rather startling for the people. Will it cause them to throw the people down or something like that? I don't know. I don't care if they do or they don't. I mean, it's better if they do throw them down. But we can't say throw them down, because now we're telling the unclean spirits to do evil. But can I tell the unclean spirit to come out as quick as possible? Don't tell the people anything about what's going to happen before or after it happens. And you got to just come out immediately. Yeah, I can do that. Why do I want the thing loitering around and the person taking his sweet time, telling the person, oh, don't worry, I'm going to be leaving you now. I got some important business to do. No, I don't want anything like that going on. I want the person not being able to lie or tell them anything and just zippity-doo-dah, get out of there. Quick. Okay? They're not going to be happy about that. Okay? I'm thinking. We still need to experiment with the keys to the kingdom if we could bind and loose people. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I bind Trump, the President of the United States, from continuing to lie to the people of the world about anything. I bind him from telling any more lies for as long as he's president. And I put the same binding on Benjamin Netanyahu. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And this binding is in place for as long as they hold their political office that they hold now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. See if that works. I don't know. And we got to try it. It'll be impossible for them to remain in office if they can't lie. Lying is the big prerequisite to serving Satan. I mean, he's the father of lies. If you're not lying, you're not his son or child. And if you're not a child of Satan, he's not going to help you. If he helps you, he dooms you. The best thing for these people really is if Satan no longer helps them, then they might repent and get saved, right? As long as Satan keeps loading them up with lies, they probably won't. Remember, a Satan bot without an unclean spirit is like a taxi driver without a taxi cab. Or it's like a pilot without an airplane. They got nothing. You guys can experiment yourself and, I'm going to pray. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray that you would reveal to us whether or not we can do the binding and loosing on humans, not just unclean spirits. I myself am not sure, so I submit it to you for clarification and instruction, and forgiveness if I went too far. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that. We'll find out. We'll go to the source. Maybe we can do it. Then we'll have to sit down and start doing big campaigns about that. I don't know. The way it's worded, it seems to me, what you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. What you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. It doesn't seem to be restricting us to these signs shall follow those that believe in my name, they shall cast out devils. So that's obvious. You're doing it against the unclean spirits. Does Luke 10 give us any license to do this? More of a license than not a license. I'll explain. Luke 10. What are we on? Verse 12, maybe? Let's try 17. Sorry, it was 17. And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. See, this sort of restricts it to just the devils, right? The unclean spirits. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means harm you. So the serpents and the scorpions are more or less like the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They're people. And this is when Yeshua was not yet raised from the dead. Let's take a look at the other verses. The bind and loose. Matthew 16:19. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. See, the demons are referred to as the power of the air. This is talking about on earth. It could, of course, mean the demons, but maybe not. Hold it. What's wrong here? Hold on. Hello? Hi, how are you? Good, good. Pretty good. Everything's doing okay. Yeah. The same, you know. Oh, I'm going to see the ophthalmologist soon. I got an appointment. I'm going to do that. I guess, you know, the Maccabi thing, you know. No, it's just a regular doctor visit, and then they refer you up the ladder. And I don't know where the next level, the BTL, I don't know where their doctors are. Nobody can tell me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The physical therapist said no, it's local. But he's getting me some canes. I should be getting them any day. Maccabi paid for those. And no, he just comes for that, basically. That's about it. Yeah. No, I'm not going through physical therapy. No, no, no. So, he thinks I should. He might be right. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, yeah. The same. You know, she's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. She's about the same. So yeah. We don't know. We don't know. It could work with just the local doctor. You know, it could start the process, or they might say they want you to go to the Geopolitical eye guy, and that is sort of automatic. If you get it from them, then you automatically, I understand, get like level two metapellet and stuff like that. You know? So yeah, yeah, it's sort of a walking through a maze with one of your eyes closed. Nobody has clear vision as to how it really works. You know, it just you just jump in. You know, that's all I can do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the right path. Yeah. No, it just allows me to get nurse, physical therapy, the blood draw, that stuff. They're the only ones that come. The doctors, I found out the doctors don't come to the house unless you can't move. You know, you just lay in bed all day. You know, that's so they don't come to the house. Yeah. So, no. Well, every day without missiles is a good day. What else can I tell you? You know? Yeah, 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 yeah. One of the dogs ran away They were working on the house. The neighbor broke the sewer line. We were getting sewage, and when he left the door open, the dog ran away. And then I had the police here because the dog ran away. No, the dog came home. The police came. They gave me a warning. They said, you got to keep him in. You know, that's all they did. They were very nice. Somebody in the neighborhood did. They told me the dog was down by the highway. So somebody probably wanted to save the dog and phoned it in. Yeah. No, he didn't do nothing. He's a nice dog, but yeah, just thinks he can, that she can run around in the street, and she shouldn't, so. But that was really a one-off thing, because she always comes back. Yeah, she comes back. The workman left the gate open, that's what. So, gotta watch them. Yeah. So, that's it. Okay. All right. Haksamail. Okay. Bye. Bye. Sorry, guys. That was my welfare thing. One of the welfare people I needed to talk to. So, on the spiritual warfare, it doesn't say that we have to just restrict this to unclean spirits. It says, whatsoever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So don't create doubt in the faith, because it very well could be that we can do this, and just because the church has never taught it, it doesn't impress me one bit. I don't pay attention to that. It goes on, it says in the next time, it says, verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So that could mean what people are doing. We got to test this and find out, but we got to do it with faith, not jumping in thinking, oh, it ain't gonna work. Well, this post, wait. Whosoever sins you remit, they are remitted unto them, and whosoever sins you retain, they are retained. Well, that's basically saying you could get forgiveness of people's sins. So let's think about that and pray about that. We could apply that. And if I forget, remind me. We can apply that to family. Now, if you remit this, if you get rid of their sins, the demons got to go out of them, I would think, because they have no ground to be there. Comprende? Think about it. And then we might be able to get our families back. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I bind all the unclean spirits from doing anything regarding any true believers, family, or friends. The unclean spirits can no longer use them and turn them towards you as a punishment or a war, making war against the true believers. You have to cease and desist that, and any work you did in the past is null and void, no value, no effect forever, and you've got to, all these unclean spirits have to depart from all these people immediately, never to return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, I want you to know we're covering a lot of ground, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds easy. And the reason it sounds easy is because it is easy. Because when you fight in the spirit, you win. Get that down. You win. You always win. Always you're going to win when you fight in the spirit. You win. And it's not hard. And what drives it? Faith. And what drives faith? Love. Not hate, love. So you know how Satan punishes us. He makes war with those that have the true gospel and the faith. Okay. So he goes and running around, uh, and that's found in Revelation 12. He makes war with those, that have the true gospel and they understand prophecy. Okay. Um, because you're a big threat to him. And if you understand the scriptures, you understand demon tossing and spiritual warfare. And he needs that like a hammer hitting him in the head all day long, right? So, um, one of the ways he gets you is he goes after your family, turns them against you, friends, neighbors, co-workers, employers, stuff like that. Makes your life miserable and you get weary. And then you keep clinging to the Lord, help me, help me, help me. But, yeah, that's okay. Help me, help me, help me is okay in the beginning, but we're supposed to grow up and use the keys to the kingdom, shouldn't we? Or should we take those keys and forget we have the keys? And if you go home to your house and you forget to have the keys, how are you going to open the door? So the doors aren't going to open when we forget to have the keys and don't use the keys. Makes sense? Comprende? Mavim, that would be the Hebrew mavim, but you don't know what that means. Comprende makes sense to you guys. Okay. Now, if I'm right about this, we're going to be able to turn the world upside down, I think. So what do you guys do? Walk in it and pray about it. Pray that we get, not just me, that we all get the insights, okay? And this can be very exciting. And I really like the concept of taking, like one of those hammers the judges bang on the bench, order in the court, like taking a little hammer like that and just hitting Satan in the head all day, all night, never stop. What a pleasant thought. Okay, so you know what you got to do, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. I hope you got something out of this, and I'm wondering what's going to happen with the offerings. I'm out.